let's do it. On today's show, $600 per week is coming to your bank account. That's additional money. Also, why haven't you received your stimulus check yet? We'll get to that. Plus, the college scandal. Why are they getting so much money? It's time for your IRS Economic Stimulus update for Thursday, April 23rd. And at the end of today's show, I'm also going to show you how you can get an additional $1,400 in your bank account. That's right. So stick around to the end of the show for that. So if you're new here, welcome. This channel is devoted to helping you make money and build financial intelligence. You're going to learn a lot of things on my channel that set you apart from other people. And you're going to learn things that you were never taught in high school. So please go ahead and subscribe and drop me a comment to let me know that you're new here. Say hi. Say I'm new here. I respond to every comment that I can. I try to. Okay, it's stimulus update time. But before we get to the big stories, did you hear about Germany? They canceled Oktoberfest because of coronavirus. Yeah, Oktoberfest isn't until September 19th in Munich. That's how far things out now are being canceled. It's crazy, folks. All right, top story today. Why you haven't received your stimulus check yet. If your $1,200 federal COVID-19 stimulus payment has been deposited into your bank account by the IRS, well, then consider yourself one of the lucky ones. An IRS spokesman says that only about 80 million payouts, about half of the expected total, had been issued as of last Friday, April 17th. Half. Direct deposits. That leaves many taxpayers waiting, but the spokesman couldn't provide a schedule of when these payments would be issued. All he could say is that the IRS will direct deposit the money or mail the checks through the spring and the summer. I thought direct deposit was supposed to be much easier. It makes no sense. Under the legislation, most individual taxpayers will get $1,200 plus $500 for each dependent, though some high earners don't qualify for that additional money. But this has been a bungled mess by the government by all accounts. IRS figures show that nearly 156 million Americans filed taxes last year, including about 89% who filed electronically. So many included bank routing numbers for electronic refunds, which the IRS is now using to direct deposit stimulus checks to those who qualify. But that leaves about 58 million electronic filers who are still waiting for the direct deposit of their stimulus money, along with perhaps another 18 million people who will ultimately get the money by paper check. And you can use the IRS website's Get My Payment tool that'll help you track your payouts status. But problems have been piling up left and right, and I've heard from thousands of you in the comments here that say you've done everything right, but you still haven't gotten your check. For example, some users have received frustrating error messages such as this.
According to the information that we have on file, we cannot determine your eligibility for a payment at this time. This may occur for a variety of reasons. For example, if you didn't file either a 2018 or 2019 tax return, or you recently filed and the return has not been fully processed.
Thanks, IRS dude. Well, the biggest holdup appears to involve those who didn't file a 2018 or 2019 tax return electronically, or who failed to provide direct deposit information on the IRS's portal. So without a way to direct deposit the money, the IRS acknowledged that it could take up to 4 months through September for a paper check to arrive at your address. Now, by contrast, among the first to receive payouts on April 15th were taxpayers who e-filed their 2018 or 2019 returns and had given the agency direct deposit information that they already had that on file. All right, next up, many of you who lost your job are about to receive more money than you would have typically earned at your job, thanks to an additional $600 a week, which is being set aside in that federal stimulus package for the unemployed. That's amazing news. Now, how they figured this out? The calculation is based on an analysis of the so-called replacement rate, which is the share of a worker's wages that is replaced by unemployment benefits. So the replacement rates for each state are a little bit different, but they are determined by dividing the average unemployment payment in that state by the average 40-hour-a-week salary of those who receive unemployment benefits. So you might be asking, why $600 a week? Well, when you add $600 to the national average, the unemployment payment, which is about $371 at the end of 2019, the replacement rate goes from 38% to almost exactly 100%. So in other words, that is what it would take for Congress to replace what average American workers are receiving for unemployment. They would actually make more in certain situations than what they earned at their job. Basically, it's easier for them to just do a flat $600 for everyone every week, and that would cover 100% of the amount that you would have made at your job. That's amazing. So they're not going to sit there and try to figure out percentages. They're just doing a $600 flat extra. Now, the states are paying your main unemployment where you lost your job, but the federal government is coming in and paying that additional $600. But here's the problem. Half the states don't have their act together yet, and they don't have their software updated to get these additional payments out to you. Around 29 states right now are rocking and rolling on this, but the other states are still working out the kinks. Now, let's talk about Harvard University and the Harvard University scandal. They announced in a statement on Wednesday that it will no longer seek or accept aid from the CARES Act, the Higher Education Emergency Relief Fund and part of the CARES Act. Now, this came one day after President Trump demanded that the Ivy League school return that federal relief cash. Now, the prestigious Ivy League University had received nearly $9 million in federal funds through one of the government's relief programs. That was doled out, though, through the Department of Education. But the allocation drew backlash from Trump, and he got up at the podium and lashed out at it. On Tuesday, he claimed that the university was receiving money through the Paycheck Protection Program, which is intended to help struggling small businesses. Now, Harvard came out and denied that they ever applied for or received any funds through PPP. They clarified that the funding was given to most other U.S. colleges and universities to be used for direct financial assistance to students and to cover costs incurred by the schools due to the coronavirus. But something doesn't smell right here, am I right? So these colleges got funding in order to help the kids with financial aid? Why haven't we really heard about this before? And why didn't universities have to apply? Another question I have is, why is the Department of Education handing out free money to these expensive schools when so many public schools right now need help setting up virtual classrooms, getting their teachers additional pay? I mean, look, these colleges commit highway robbery with their tuition costs, and our young people are drowning in student loan debt for degrees that they're never going to use. They're worthless. So you're sending $9 million to Harvard? Tell me I'm wrong, but this just sounds like an inside job, like a rich friends circle. Here's an idea. Why not instead just waive all student loan debt for the kids? Imagine how that would help our young people out. Instead of sending out random payments to Harvard, wipe those student loans off. Look, we haven't even started seeing all the garbage that we're going to see once these audits start. Congress has said they want to start auditing all of these payments to track everything. Way to catch up, Congress. So you just sent out $2.2 trillion and you hope there's nothing shady going on here? All right, next story. 84% of Americans say they need another stimulus check. Are you one of them? If you are, drop me a comment below and tell me yes or no and why. Also, go ahead and hit that like button. It really helps YouTube get our video out to more people who need help. So please just take 1 second. It only takes a second to hit that like button. Okay, back to the story. Yeah, 84% of Americans say they need another stimulus check. Now, this came as part of a Bankrate.com study that showed 1 in 3 Americans fear the first stimulus checks won't sustain them for even 1 month. While millions of Americans are still counting the days until their stimulus checks arrive, many are already finding that the one-time $1,200 payment won't go very far. The economic impact payment started to hit bank accounts last week, offering a much-needed cash infusion for some of the more than 20 million people that were suddenly out of work. Now we're actually hearing today that it's about 26 million. With all these mass layoffs, 26 million that had to file for unemployment. About 80 million Americans were expected to get their payments the week of April 13th, while others are going to have to wait later this month or even well later into the year, as we mentioned, all the way up through September. But just under 1 in 3 Americans expect that their share of the stimulus money won't even sustain them for a full month. 2/3 said it will cover their expenses for less than 3 months. So it's not surprising that a new Wallet Hub survey of 300 Americans found that 84% want another wave of stimulus checks, with 43% of people saying that they plan to use their payment to pay their rent or their mortgage. Is that you? Is that what you're going to do? A record 26 million plus Americans filed for unemployment in just 1 month. And economists at the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, listen to this, they estimate now that joblessness could surpass 32%, which would make it greater than the Great Depression's unemployment rate back in the 1930s. That puts it in some perspective. So now, do you want some free money? Of course you do. We all do. So I want to tell you about Webull. Now, when you open a Webull account, it's totally free. You download it on your phone. They're going to give you 2 free stocks valued up to $1,400. That's like getting another stimulus payment, folks. And you don't have to do anything else with that account. You simply open that account at the link in our description. You have to use our link so you get the 2 free stocks. You'll get 2 free stocks valued up to $1,400. Then you can just transfer that money right to your bank account if you want. And you might be saying, well, why would they do that? Why would Webull do that? Well, Webull is smart because they'd actually spend way more money than that on marketing, putting up billboards and taking out ads in newspapers and other things. This way, they're able to get money directly to customers who might want to use their brand. So think again, right? Use this service. Get your free stocks. You don't have to do anything else. It's amazing. The link is below in the description. Download the app, click on it, and then you're able to get that additional money, those additional stocks. And like I said, transfer it right to your bank account. You don't have to do anything else. So leave me a comment below. And if you're new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, folks. And we will see you once again tomorrow.